just gonna keep talking movies, old ones and modern. Maybe one day we'll do a series on Harry fucking Potter. Probably not, because that'd be dumb. So listen to us in the shower or in your car. If it sounds like we're having fun, it's cause we're on drugs. No, it's cause we are. Now is time for me to wrap the song up. John and I did a series on Akira Kurosawa.
Yeah, intermittently now throughout the foreseeable future, we're going to be doing some episodes, revisiting some past favorites, or not even favorites per se, but movies that Luke and I have been wanting to rewatch.
We're irking to rewatch them.
Yes, because I think we both strive to watch as many new movies, just ones we haven't seen before, a lot. So yeah, it's good to also motivate us to go and revisit some that we haven't seen in a while. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that coming up. And for this one, Luke suggested Inglourious Basterds. So yeah, that's what we're doing for this episode.
That's what we're talking about today. Yeah, I'm really excited about doing this because honestly, like rewatching movies is one of my favorite things, and I don't think we do it often. We don't base episodes around rewatches necessarily as much, unless they're, say, relevant to, I don't know, an idea or a topic or something that we thought of already. Like I like the feeling of watching new movies a lot, like the feeling of accomplishment, crossing another one off the list. But I think as terms of like overall experience, like rewatching movies that that felt like they were they needed to be rewatched for me is usually just ultimately I get just so much more out of it,
Yeah.
And I almost feel like I'm spoiling myself as I do it, and I think that's why I don't do it enough.
Yeah, right. I feel like there is that extra dopamine high.
Yeah, oh for sure.
That I get from
It's being
rewatching.
able to retread the plot and the story and everything you've seen before, and really watch it even more, watch it at a deeper level. And so and watching something for the first time, like say on Criterion Collection, is just a totally different thing. Because I'll be honest, I'm lost during so many of those watches, and I have to think about it later. I'm like, wow, I just didn't get that last 30 minutes, but I'm with this again. But yeah, it's watching a lot of new movies is a challenge, and I guess what I'm trying to say is we like to challenge ourselves usually, but we're gonna stop doing that for a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna do something for us for once, But I do think, when you have a lot of first watches in a row, that you almost start to forget aspects of the movie because you've taken in so much new information. But then when you can rewatch one, then you don't have to focus as much on the plot or the narrative. You can sort of take in the little details that you may have missed before and maybe have a new experience.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of the movies we're gonna pick aren't gonna to rewatch aren't necessarily easy peasy, movies to watch necessarily. A lot of them are pretty ambitious, and the one today, specifically Inglourious Basterds, is very much a film that is or more so a novel that is posing as a film in a way. So I guess we're not taking it easy on the cinematic on the cinema standpoint or anything like that, or maybe or the prestige of the rewatches, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I guess Yeah, let's dive right into our rewatch of
Yeah.
Inglourious Basterds.
Actually, first, like, I don't. I think when was the first time you saw Inglorious Bastards?
The first time, so I don't think I saw Inglourious Basterds in the theater, but back when this came out, I mean, we were teenagers, and this was like one of the biggest movies of the
Yeah.
year, obviously. And I definitely remember,
Were
like,
we sophomores in high school, John? Since it
let's
was
see,
'09,
'09. Yeah, that
freshmen or
sounds right.
sophomores, on that border. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I can remember, I can remember renting Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
Yeah, shortly after it came out, and watching it at home, and I thought it was one of the coolest things I had ever seen. Because even at that point, I think I had probably seen Pulp Fiction. That may have been the only other
Hmm.
Tarantino I'd seen at that point. Because I definitely hadn't seen like Kill Bill or
Yeah.
I don't even know what else would have come up before. Reservoir Dogs, I don't think I had seen
Hmm.
yet. So yeah, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and then I was like, "Whoa, this Tarantino guy, he's like the real deal." And then I was like, one day I'm gonna have a movie podcast and talk about it. Yeah. Um,
Maybe at least 10, 15 years tops.
yeah,
I'll be able to do that.
yeah, yeah, right. And I had you in mind as the co-host the whole time too. Yeah, I
10
just didn't want to
years
say
tops.
anything.
I'll be able to plan that out.
Yeah, like you're gonna see my name and the Apple Podcast logo. Yeah, but yeah, it was even once I started to see more Tarantino's. This was still sort of my favorite Tarantino
Yeah.
up until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But uh,
Oh, okay. So up until last
up
year.
until last year, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd still
And you
say it's my
saw
second
it.
favorite. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Nice. Oh, that's cool. So you saw it '09, or was it '09, or was it a later year or two later?
oh 09 or 10. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So you saw it like right when it came out.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, in compared to me at least. All
yeah.
right.
When was
So
the first time you saw it?
all right. Yeah. So here's how my journey with the film.
Oh,
I saw the trailer, like when the hype was being built around it, and
oh yeah,
um, I didn't, in high school, like I didn't know who Quentin Tarantino was in high school, um, and I think Inglorious Bastards, um, for for me in high school would be a movie that I definitely wouldn't have understood if I saw it in high school. Um, but I remember when the trailer came on, I don't remember what movie I was seeing, and it did look like the coolest movie, and
yeah,
to me, and definitely something that was just out there and not something that I had ever seen before. And also, it just looked, all I cared about in high school was if something seemed funny to me. And I just remember there's the tag of, Brad Pitt in the trailer going, killing Nazis. And that made me laugh in the theater. So I immediately was like, hell yeah, Glorious Bastards. Not, just because of that, probably that one line, because I
yeah,
thought it was funny. I was like,
yeah,
that looks great. That's probably like, just like Step Brothers or, Will Ferrell movies or something like that. My realm was not very big, uh, just with movies in general at all. So like something like this, if I had seen it, I probably would have hated it. Probably would have went
really.
very much over my head. Yeah.
See,
Okay. So like,
I'll say I probably most of it went over my head, for
yeah,
sure did, but it's the
it still appealed
the
to you.
things that I don't even I don't even care about. I just like part of the reason I wanted to see it so bad was just because of everyone talking about it. So I was like, okay, well I got to see this thing, and yeah,
Yeah.
I saw the trailer,
Yeah.
looked so cool, and then
Hmm.
so like I just think it's hilarious. The first scene when you meet the Inglorious Bastards, like I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I definitely do not comprehend all of these scenes with so much dialogue.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Building up the
Yeah.
tension that
Yeah.
totally goes over my head. But
Yeah. You
yeah,
just get bored.
yeah, right,
Um, and I think all I knew about it, other than just the fact that I thought it was probably a funny movie in some regards, was that it was super violent. I think that's what I heard. Is just it was super violent. I was like, whoa, that sounds crazy. Yeah, but I don't know. I just never ended up seeing it. And so then I think I was like, I'm like 19 years old. I'm like just getting into movies. I'm going down the most typical track of like seeing movies. You can go. Like I had just seen, I'm like watching Pulp Fiction for the first time, and I'm like, holy shit! Like what is this? And then you see Shawshank Redemption at the same around. I saw that around the same time. I saw Goodfellas around the same time. Basically doing the IMDb 250.
Christopher Nolan, like Memento.
Oh yeah, I'm obsessed
Prestige.
with Christopher Nolan at the time. Yeah, I'm obsessed with Nolan. But like Quentin Tarantino, like when I was, I think like 19 through 22 was just like a god to me. Like the way I kind of like look at like you like on this podcast, the way I've like talked and raved about like and just really owned up to really liking Paul Thomas Anderson was how I was at the time about Quentin Tarantino. Like because I didn't really know anything else, so I got to film school and I was like, they ask what you like. They ask what you like in film school. I straight up was like, did not realizing how typical of a thing or ridiculous of a thing this is to say in film school. I was like, I love Quentin Tarantino movies. I was probably the only guy in my class who said that. So anyways, somewhere along that track, I don't remember when it was, like, I think probably around 1920 is when I first saw Inglourious Basterds. And all I knew was like the Tarantino conventions basically that were being employed. Although for me, it just felt like the dialogue scenes just felt like much like longer, and the fact that I had to read at the time probably turned me off the film a little more on the first watch, and probably not getting it, but I definitely was like, I like it, And so I've probably seen it. I think I probably rewatched it one more time since then, and this maybe I just watched it again today. This might have been rewatch 3 or 4. And so I think I finally got it on like either rewatch 2 or 3, or like it really like I was able to like appreciate it more. And I think that's in a way because I think this is one of the more inaccessible Tarantino movies, maybe in like a good way, in the fact that it's a lot about like things like language. Language as in like a lot of the people talk like they're in a book, pretty much like how people talk in novels and stuff like that. And also language on the other hand, on how just like literal, on a more literal sense, like between dialects, like between German and French and English and all that stuff. And so I think, yeah, like basically what I'm saying is that those types of concepts probably just went way over my head and were probably way too much for me to appreciate at the time. And it's probably why it just took me longer to like this film a lot in comparison to other Tarantino movies, which may have I've like really connected with immediately.
Yeah, I feel like what you said about like 19 to 22 or whatever being obsessed with Tarantino, I feel like that's a very accurate stereotype of straight white men. Like, during that age, there's always like the stereotypical joke of like a dude moves into college and puts up his Reservoir Dogs poster on the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah. That definitely seems like it's like a growing period of Tarantino. Yeah, for me, I've always been really interested in like it's just like German history. Because when I was in high school, I got really into like my heritage and everything, and so any World War II movie, I was like totally in love with. And this was just another one that I really thought it was cool. and thought it was this cool, fictional story from this time. But yeah, I really didn't comprehend everything going on and appreciate it until, yeah, probably rewatching it again, 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I would say the same. Like two
mhm.
to 3 years ago, I was like really watching it and being like, oh yeah, this is like that type of little things. That's why this movie's great, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think it's a weird film because it it goes on for a while. Like dialogue scenes go on for so long, and plus, Quentin Tarantino is very much, um, doing a fictionalized version like of history and taking ownership over it in his own way. So I think it's maybe weird for an audience to comprehend on a first watch,
hmm
maybe.
yeah, for sure.
When we're used to watching like history movies like saving like Spielbergian history movies, which are
hmm
more so, trying to be very true to it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But for me, while this is a really long movie, just like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it feels shorter than some of Tarantino's uh other movies. But
Yeah, I didn't
yeah.
feel like my 2.5 hours dragged that hard. Like, I
Mhm.
think how many chapters are in this movie? Is it like four or five?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like they were going by just I don't know, quicker than I thought they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll start then with chapter one.
Yes.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to be like, all right, now it's chapter two.
Yeah, just go
I
completely,
don't think
yeah.
I'm gonna be able to remember
No.
his structure that well. Um, I think chapter one is like definitely, whew, I don't know, maybe the most famous scene or remembered scene from this movie or talked about. Or maybe what Christoph Waltz at least gets his most recognition for.
Yeah. I I would say it's close with another one which we'll get to very soon.
Yeah,
But
because
I
one's
yeah, but I think chapter 1 does a great job as when you're seeing it now as opposed to in high school, where you see, like, it does a great job of setting up, Christoph Waltz's character as this, just maniacal detective
yeah,
villain, and, it's it'll catch you off guard the first time watching it if you're not familiar with Tarantino, that there's a ton of dialogue,
yep,
and
yeah,
now watching it, knowing what it's leading up to, yeah, I'm I'm not a huge Tarantino fan overall. Like, I do really like Tarantino and like his movies, but I
yeah.
don't find myself rewatching them too much because I can't always get into how much
Get behind the
dialogue
talking.
and so much talking. But in Inglourious Basterds, especially the first chapter, I'm totally invested in it, and I think it's
Yeah,
because of Christoph Waltz.
yeah,
Yeah, and just like the tension leading up to it, and then just pure dread once you get to a certain point, too. But
yeah.
I
And
don't
I think,
think we need to worry about spoilers.
nah, we don't.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I think it also sets up very much like a bunch of like the tone and like just what we are going to see. Because if
Yeah.
like every most interactions going from that like from this scene kind of are the same. They're all just
hmm
he's kind of just using his dialogue to play off the tension of just violence in the period that was like probably the most violent in human history. So I
hmm
think he like that setting gives him that that ability to do that just in every scene, which I argue actually gets for me gets a little repetitive, but it is also like his whole thing in this movie. So you can't, that's just personal preference. But
hmm
um, Yeah, I think this first scene is super well written, even though it can be arguably said it's overwritten. I think like that maybe the talking can go on too long, that certain people wouldn't even be able to feel the tension in it necessarily. Maybe that was me before, but I don't know. This time around, I felt every scent of tension in this opening scene. For sure, specifically because the writing and the acting is so good. Like Christoph Waltz is great, but even the guy whose house it is, he does a great job of just you could, like, every time Christoph Waltz is talking to someone, you could tell they have, like, I don't know, they're very tight.
Yes.
Like every single actor is very tight with just by his presence. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really something else.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's just that subtlety, that is constantly played throughout of, like, enemy, people on opposing sides, trying to figure each other out throughout this whole movie, and that's this opening scene just sets all of that up very well in a super memorable way.
Yeah, right. Because he is a very comical character too, and in this
Yeah.
he comes across as oddly friendly in a very concerning way, and then
Yeah.
even the farmer, um whatever, he seems tense but also calm still, and
Yeah.
there's this moment then where both of them just like have the slightest turn, and Christoph Waltz is all of a sudden just terrifying because
Yeah.
he is getting to this guy, and then the guy starts, he starts
Yeah.
crying, and he can't hold it in any longer. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he gets
so
he gets
subtle,
that
but
he gets that out of him, like, as the gradual progression of the scene. That
yeah,
moment especially hits very hard. Yeah, they're definitely both playing their own little game, and definitely what you said about calming, like, Christoph Waltz really, this, like, character is just way too smart
yeah,
for his own good. And he definitely just knows how to handle these tense situations by keeping it calm, but also just being very, like understanding circumstances of the other person, and knowing, like, like the position they're in, and just how to get what he wants out of them. And that's just what he does in this scene where I think he asks for a second glass of milk.
yeah,
Then he while the Frenchman is smoking his pipe, he pulls out his pipe, takes a bunch of puffs out of it, and then just says, "Yeah, well, I could come here, I could search the house, and then, God knows what could happen to your family, or you could just point out the Jews, and then we'll take them, and then, your family's unharmed, blah blah blah." And he definitely, like, knows how to directly look at this guy and be like, I mean, like, come on, stop bullshitting. I'm way smarter than that. I know. And he just his ability to come off that intelligent. I keep calling this guy the Frenchman. I don't know if he has a name, but I'll
yeah.
call
I
him the
can't
Frenchman.
remember. Yeah,
I'll call him the Frenchman once more. Like, he's able to believe, that he's telling him the truth, and gets him to do something that he knows is, he'll probably regret inside, but is really the only thing he can do in order to, it's just the best situation for him is to basically give up the Jews he's hiding under his floor.
yeah, and everything that Christoph Waltz does, like, up to that point, is very, like, calculated.
Yeah.
And he's so smart that he has a reason for doing everything, and he's so manipulative.
Yeah, and it's not the way I think normally, like, Nazis are depicted in film, or in just the way we think of Nazis in general. I think, like, we think of them more like as, I don't know, Schindler's List people who are just like mindless killers and insane and just stuff like that. And I think this movie takes like a character like Christoph Waltz's and just kind of shows he's in it for like personal benefit, as in like Oskar Schindler was doing, all of that for money, stuff like that. So yeah, that is scene one. Christoph Waltz brings in the soldiers and they shoot them all, shoot all the Jews hiding in the cellar or just under the floorboards, which I think is jarring because I mean, obviously, right? But I think is specifically jarring because Christoph Waltz presents a very civil manner going through his whole negotiation process.
Yeah.
And so you think, oh, okay, so he's probably just gonna take them away and out of their sight. It's gonna be, more calm like that. But then they just shoot through the floor of this guy's house right after that. And it's back to like, oh yeah, these guys are insane Nazis, like like insanity. And it just makes, Christoph Waltz feel even more insane.
Yeah, he's like politely evil, which is almost the worst kind of evil.
Yep.
Yeah.
Colonel Hans Landa, his name
Hans
is.
Landa, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Shoshana, she is the only one that breaks free, and he ends up letting her go, whether or not he'd be able to shoot her from that distance. But yeah.
Yeah. So that part I wanted to mention because I don't know if you noticed this, but as Hans Landa sees Shoshana run out into the field, they kind of do I believe it's a shot very similar to a Leone one, like from Once Upon a Time in the West, like that the interior mixed, looking out to the exterior.
Are you thinking of the Searchers?
Is that the Searchers?
That's what it reminded me of, where it's where John Wayne is like walking out the door.
Maybe that is the Searchers. I think it's a very, maybe a just a fairly used a lot Western shot, maybe. But I felt like, I just saw a lot of Western influence.
Oh, totally,
in that shot. I was like, all right, Quentin, you Western nut. Yeah.
I thought of the Searchers right away, because the Searchers started out with the door opening, and it's like that same shot where it's just all black around the door frame, and then
exactly, and then there's all the light and color out there in the fields. Yeah. Great shot.
Yeah, definitely Tarantino dipping into his Western.
Oh yeah. Totally. That's what I thought. So he lets Shoshana go, and he yells, I don't know, John, what does he yell? You might remember. Yeah, you're with your German heritage.
I can't remember.
All right, never.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll ask my Nazi relatives.
Yeah, because they chant it every morning. All right, so that's chapter 1, and I believe chapter 2 we get introduced to the Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah, I think it's
Am
called.
I right?
I think it's called.
It's literally called Inglourious Basterds. Yeah. And so that's when Brad Pitt gives the whole killing Nazis speech.
Which is like pretty much the whole trailer is like.
That's, as I said before, that's what glued me to wanting to see this movie back in the day.
Yep. And I would say that this, along with the first scene, are like the most iconic ones.
Yeah.
I feel like
most in like pop culture for sure. The second scene. And we also got Ryan from The Office in this movie.
DJ Novak.
Yep.
Yeah, really interesting cast of characters too. Sort of some like random actors in there, like Sam Levine from Freaks and Geeks.
Yep. I like that choice because I was thinking about this, and I feel like other directors, say like Christopher Nolan, for instance, they want like just as their soldiers to be like men, like beefy Tom Hardy men. But Quentin Tarantino, like he wants like I think like an interesting, maybe even goofy, just like actor face, even like Sam Levine.
Yeah, Sam Levine. Yeah.
Sam Levine. Yeah, like there's scenes where Sam Levine is just firing down Nazis looking angry. And I think he pulls it off for sure, but at the same time, it is like it's silly that like it's Sam Levine. He's like a kid.
Yeah, he's like 5'2" and 30 years old. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. He's kind of sometimes how I think I'll look. Like I'll just look the same, forever. Like since 18 forever, that sort of thing. But I think it's I like those casting choices because I think it works with the tone of the strangeness of this movie. Like this is not like an actual World War II depiction or reenactment. This is fiction,
Yeah.
This is a different world, just like using the setting of World War II.
Yeah. And I think the fact that it's like a fictionalized version of events from World War II, that Tarantino has a little bit more leeway to do the goofy ass things like include Sam Levine as an Inglourious Bastard, someone who's just killing Nazis. It's definitely, it's a really funny movie too,
for sure,
overall. And this scene really sets up perfectly this goofy clan of Jewish soldiers. And really you have Brad Pitt and Eli Roth, who are like the big tough cool guys, and then you have Ryan from The Office and Sam.
Who I think Ryan is great in this movie, actually.
Oh, definitely. And this scene too is just as brutal, if not more, than the first scene too. I don't know. It's still very like comical, but also and very Tarantino, but just how violent the bastards get. But I think it's a perfect introduction into keeping the sort of atmosphere and the vibe of the film going.
And I think Brad Pitt's character and Christoph Waltz's characters are both actually in ways like similar in that they're very just like their agenda. They're very focused on their agenda. And they're also, even though they go about negotiating in different ways, but I think they're very straightforward in negotiating. And I think being able to see them initially how they work, like one scene after another, is like ultimately significant to like how the film ends and how in the end it's like those two making a deal.
That's I think they come together in a great way, and they really are, I guess, the two characters sort of leading this whole these two different fronts that end up fighting with Shoshana in the middle. But they're both I would say two of Tarantino's most iconic characters in general too.
I think this is probably one of the first times watching this movie where I really thought this, but I think Brad Pitt is like great in this movie.
Yeah, totally.
I think before I may have thought that he was just like really one note and his performance is very gimmicky. And I think it is those things, but at the same time, I think he is really great, like at it.
Yeah, I think there's like some intentionally gimmicky things about him
Oh,
that
for
I
sure.
feel like work because it's still, the movie still seems
Yeah.
self-aware.
Yeah.
Like when he just goes "Buongiorno" like in his
Yeah, it's very
American.
self-aware. It's like,
Mhm.
look how stupid like that sounded, you
Yeah,
know?
right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like, yeah, I think he's like he's very dumb American, and he seems high as fuck like all the time. Like just his whole demeanor is like this dude's barely keeping his like face intact, you know. It's like his face is just like he's just like whatever, you know, about everything. But I think he's also like when he's acting, he's very steady, like in like specifically when he needs to be,
yeah,
um, and very very smart as well. But also very dumb and very lucky in a very American way.
yeah, yeah. This viewing, I really realized how American Brad Pitt's character is.
Yeah,
It's just,
but in a really
stereotypical
interesting
American.
way. In a really
Hmm.
interesting way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think his character is just as manipulative and does all the same has all the same calculated beats that Christoph Waltz does, but just in
Yeah.
a much more Americanized way, where
Yeah. Exactly.
the
Exactly.
German guy is very uh meticulous and detailed and to the point and
Yep.
articulate, and that he is just, he's just um just the standard stereotypical American gung ho
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it works perfectly for both characters. Yeah,
Yeah, that contrast of just the ultra smart and the dumb American is like, yeah, it works fairly well.
hmm
So they're by this like the bastards got this German officer by like what is it, like a well in the woods?
yeah. It's like some little like cave grove. I don't know what you would call it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Either way,
well,
Brad Pitt's talking to this guy. This guy's on his knees. He's surrounded by all the bastards. They're all just standing on the surrounding hills, and laughing at all the things he says because they're like, we know this guy's fucked, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And
Just sip the Kool-Aid.
exactly. And then we see like Sam Levine laughing. He's like, and he's like holding the officers, and he like the other officers who are watching that they got hostage, and he's like, "You guys must feel so fucked."
Yeah,
It's pretty funny. And yes, so Brad Pitt's like, "Okay, give up tell me where the Germans are." He's like, "Just tell me where the Germans are, and how do they have what is that? What type of artillery?" This is what
yeah.
he asks.
Hmm.
He's like, "What type of artillery?" And this guy's like, "You really think I'm gonna give up the Nazis for you? No
Yeah.
way."
Hmm.
So then he brings out Eli Roth, and Eli Roth just beats him to death with a baseball bat, which is also super American.
Yes. Yeah, and he even does this like color commentary as if he's I can't remember. I think he's from Boston technically. He's doing like this
Mm,
Boston accent, like he knocks it
yeah.
out of the park. Yeah, he even does that, which
Yes.
very
I
American.
didn't catch that, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny.
The Bear Jew, yeah.
Also, like the score a lot of the times in this movie, specifically in this scene, is very Morricone, but I don't think
Yeah.
Morricone did the score. I'm not sure.
Oh.
I think Morricone only did the Hateful Eight,
Yeah, which I forget he did the Hateful Eight.
but it's like very Morricone, specifically in this scene.
in real
Just like
time.
the
I'm gonna
build
look
up to
up.
Eli Roth.
Yeah, that's a great build up too. And part of the
Hmm.
reason I enjoyed this scene so much as a high schooler too is everyone would make references to like the Bear Jew, and
Oh,
it was
really?
like the funniest thing, the coolest thing. Um, All right, I gotta find out.
You know who the Bear Jew is.
Man, IMDb is kind of confusing with how many.
The soundtracks.
Yeah, there's not just a. All right, I'm reverting to Wikipedia here.
Oh, I get what you're saying. All right, so what it looks like though is Ennio Morricone. There's a bunch of Ennio Morricone tracks in this soundtrack. So
Oh yeah,
I don't.
actually, I bet that is a Morricone song, the one you're
So there
talking
is
about.
no original score, but I think he used his tracks
Yeah, there's
because
quite a few.
Morricone has made a ton of music that's probably just not, that wasn't used for another movie. So he's like, all right, I'll take that
Yeah.
one or something like that. So in a way, Morricone scored multiple Tarantino movies.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Good catch. Because
Because
there's a ton of on the soundtrack here. There's a ton of Morricone, and then I forget that there's some like more modern
yeah,
songs.
like David Bowie's in the soundtrack, like Cat People.
Yeah. Yeah. David Bowie. There's What
All
I'd
right,
Say. Yeah.
I knew that had to be Morricone.
Yeah. Nice catch.
Yeah. So yeah, that's. Oh, so they beat the guy with the baseball bat. They're all cheering, and it's really brutal.
Yeah.
Like they do not hold back with the violence. It really feels like this guy's really getting whacked. Ooh.
Yeah.
So then they bring the other German soldier over. Brad Pitt just gives him the same option, and also he brings a translator up, which I think is a very consistent thing in this movie, where when true like, I don't know, change is about to happen in the scene or the story or whatever, there's always seems to be a language shift. Or like either they switch from like French, like they switch from French to English in scene one.
In the first scene, yeah.
When specifically when they start to get more comfortable and really get into the meat of things. Scene two, they bring the translator in, and there's multiple times where these scenes of tension that are throughout this film are done with a translator. Just like, them talk, this three-way talk back and forth, and I think the rhythm of it actually like really works to build tension in the way that Tarantino's writing it, like with his very elongated dialogue. And so, yeah, this guy basically gives up the German base.
He obviously didn't want the same fate as the
No, yeah,
first
he
guy.
was in a way he was kind of smart, I guess you could say. And then they engrave the first. Brad Pitt engraves his swastika on the guy's forehead, and then we see Hitler talking to him later in like his lair, going like, "What the fuck happened?" It's a pretty funny portrayal
Very
of
comical
Hitler in this movie. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and then he shows off his scar, which, I think it was actually a really powerful moment in the movie, and just like a powerful thing to.
Yeah,
show.
because there's a lot of these guys, for instance, who are they're making these deals with Brad Pitt, and they're like, okay, yeah, okay, I'll do what you want. I just want, what's best for me. And he like, I'll forget about everything I've done. And he's just kind of like, nope, you're not gonna forget it. Everyone's gonna know what that you were on this side. Like, you're not gonna get off that easily. Almost like that's a coward's move. You own what you did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're not gonna move to Argentina like a bunch of the other Nazis who got away unscathed. Yeah, and I guess is that pretty much how the scene ends then?
Yeah, I believe so. And so I think the next scene we appear at the cinema.
Yes, then we see Shoshana again, and she's sort of changed her identity to hide more, and she's working at the cinema.
That's not bad of a transition, if you ask me. Like she like owns the cinema.
Yeah, she's like she owns it, runs it, and everything. Yeah, and then that's when Daniel Bruhl comes in, and he's the Nazi who's infatuated with her, and the whole thing is clearly like Tarantino obviously loves cinema and movies, so he of course include cinema is a huge.
He goes like, have you seen The Kid though? Man, that's the best ending in The Kid.
yeah. So I like obviously with Tarantino, the cinema is going to be this major major setting for this movie. But the Nazis are planning this big event where Joseph Goebbels and Hitler are going to be there, and they're going to show this Nazi propaganda film.
Yep.
Which they would do. And it sets up perfectly, which will be one of the final scenes, the I guess ultimate climax of the movie. But and this is where more of that tension comes in, as now we know who Shoshana really is, and that she's hiding her identity, and not only is she surrounded by all these Nazis, but then she finds herself eating with Joseph Goebbels, who is a notorious Nazi, and then Hans Landa, who murdered her whole family. Finding her too. So
and I love the way he pops in, and it just feels so just unexpected, and just kind of, but like, and it really helps to. I just love the way the characters like in this movie just end up at the same place as another, and then so the world feels very connected like that. It's a very Tarantino thing, but I think it's done well here.
No, it all ties together really well.
And then and we get another tense Hans Landa scene.
Yes.
But actually, we missed the part first before we get into that where, what is his name again? Daniel Bruhl.
Oh yeah.
He's
Zoller. I think is his character's name. Yeah.
Zoller.
Yeah.
Zoller. Frederick Zoller. So like he's also the movie's being made about all his kills.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. He is in the movie. About all the
he
people
killed like hundreds of Italians, basically.
It's like American Sniper, but it's not. It's Nazi Sniper. Yeah.
Nazi Sniper.
That's pretty much the movie they're showing. Yeah.
And so he gets Shoshana that meeting. Because not only does he love her cinema, he's infatuated with her as well. And so he gets her the meeting, even though like getting her the meeting is basically like the Nazis rolling up on her, like changing the letters on the front of the cinema, and they're like, get in. And of course she's like, all right, gotta get in because otherwise they might kill me. And it's not, and I think I think Zoller really sees it from his point of view as like look at this friendly gathering and opportunity I got for her, and we're at this nice restaurant, but she's just like, this is the last place like I want to be right now. Just because she hates Nazis, and she's not interested in Zoller.
He's not good at picking up those signs either. Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I think he she gets roped into it basically out of fear of what they're gonna find out if she doesn't sort of play along and go along with them.
Exactly.
And finding herself in the worst possible spot. Yeah.
And plus they took over her country, so she's got that baggage with her, but also well, they rule now, so I've got to do this, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's a Nazi propaganda film is like also just like more unsettling for her that that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and does she already plan her whole thing to include herself in the ending of the movie, or does she
So
do that?
not yet.
Okay, I'm
This is
jumping
all
ahead too
her.
much.
She's all. I think that's coming up. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like she's taking all that information. Then Christoph Waltz comes up and kisses her hand and calls her Mademoiselle. And they're like, this guy is going to be in charge of security of the event. Of course, he's in charge of security.
Yeah.
This fucking guy. And then he asks everyone to leave at the table, and which I believe that the guy at the table is either the director or the producer, the guy who's initially talking to her about using her theater.
Yeah, that's
because
that's like Joseph Goebbels, who he was like he's like a real person, like the Nazi propaganda like leader.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in charge of all that shit.
Yeah, because later we see him talking to Hitler in the theater, and Hitler's like, this is your best work yet, and he just begins weeping. It's fucking hilarious. So yeah, Hans Landa gets everyone away from the table, and it's the same routine as scene one. He's all pleasant and he's polite and really tries to create a good environment. And one of the first things he does, which is I think is done very brilliantly, is he orders her a glass of milk when he gets espresso. So immediately you're like, okay, we know it's her. He knows it's her immediately. Like, now what's he gonna do? And he's pretty much just like toying with her like the whole time. Like I think he's like, he knows like I have no interest in, like I think maybe it's because he sees that this girl has like Nazi interests now or something like that, or she is he's gonna let her hide basically. Like he sees no value into it to fuck with her life basically. But he's still, because he knows she's a Jew and he knows that she escaped his grasp, he's kind of like, I'm still gonna like fuck with her this whole time, you know.
He almost wants her to know, to like torture her in a way.
Yep. While also getting the information he needs. Because then he toys with her, like eating the strudel, and then he's like, but then he actually talks like logistics, and he's like, oh, you have a Negro projectionist? And he's like, that would be a good trade for them, I guess. Like there's always like a subtle like racist line that he has, or even in the first scene he has a very direct racist line where he's just like, you know how you see a rat and you just don't like it? And he's just basically like, that's the way I feel about Jews.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he does outright say that. Yeah.
You like a squirrel, you like squirrels, right? Well, what about rats? They're the same. That's how I feel. He's like, don't you get it?
Yeah, it's incredibly, incredibly dark. Yeah.
Yes. And so, what were we talking about?
So, yeah. So then I think, well, once after this, scene with the strudel scene and everything, I think we're introduced to her, her actual love interest, is the black guy who runs it, and I think they talk a little bit about, I don't know, like she has gained some knowledge, and it's almost like intel for her to plan, what they're gonna end up doing.
And that's when she's like, all right, we're gonna do it, we got to do it, right? And he's like, are we really gonna do that? It's like he's got to have, I guess, some there's got to be some like pushback from him, I guess, but even though it is so brief. And she's like, We can. She's like, we keep this theater, from not catching fire. We can set it on fire easily, which I guess makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's kind of, they explain how they're gonna do it with the film.
Yep, and then we get
flammable.
which is a film buff's dream, a great 35 millimeter film briefing, which is done by Sam Jackson.
Oh my God, yeah, we haven't even addressed that. There's the occasional narration.
There's two Sam Jackson voiceovers.
Sam Jackson.
Yep, the first one is about that crazy bastard, right?
The bear Jew, yeah.
Yep. Or is it the other guy?
That might be the translator. Yeah, because he's the
he's insane in some other way, and he has a weird name.
It's actually I gotta find his name. He has a great name. But the Hugo Stiglitz. Yeah, Hugo Stiglitz. The bastards break him out of prison and everything, and sort of adopt him into their clan.
Yeah, and they're like, and there's that scene where Brad Pitt's like, Hugo Stiglitz, we like the way you
fans of your work.
Yeah, and they're all kind of like lined up right there. It's a great shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I always like watching just Brad Pitt leading his crew in general. So there's a whole 35 millimeter film history lesson with Sam Jackson and how it's flammable. I mean, I'm all for it.
Yeah, totally.
I don't think it comes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's it nicely sets up what happens later, so that I guess how it's gonna happen.
And I think for like Tarantino, it's like, I don't know, maybe like in this fantasy movie he's writing, he sees it as like a poetic thing to kill the Nazis with 35 millimeter film.
Totally. Yeah, that totally is it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how, if Tarantino were to have a room full of Nazis, that's how he would kill them. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, what's the most me way of killing Hitler? He's like
Yeah, that's good call. That is totally it. Yeah. Well, I think after that is when we're introduced to Michael Fassbender's character.
Yep. And he has a briefing. Yeah. And that's his briefing with Mike Myers.
Yeah, I completely forgot that Mike Myers was in this. And it's
random.
It fits though. At first it was a little weird because like, wait, that's Mike Myers. But it does. I feel like it fits perfectly well with the movie because Michael Fassbender is not he's not usually a very comedic guy. In his movies, so to have Mike Myers be there to sort of balance the just the comedic tones in the movie, I think that works well. But yeah, they're basically just setting up what I think the next scene is. Fassbender is this spy with British intelligence who's going to be posing as a Nazi.
With Diane Kruger.
Yeah, and Diane Kruger is
Bridget von Hammersmark, who is the finest German actress who's ever lived.
Very famous German actress.
Yeah.
In this
world.
But
don't forget that the scene is set up with Brad Pitt kind of looking across the street because he's going to be working with them in some fashion. I think he's like their backup or something like that.
Yeah.
But I love this line. He's just like, you're fighting in a basement,
Yeah,
I love that.
Criticizing the whole thing.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't tell me it was a basement. He's like, you said it was a bar, but not in a basement.
And he ends up being totally right. Like that, yeah. It was. If it weren't in a basement, things could have gone differently.
Well, yeah, because later we see at the end of the scene, just for after everything goes down in this scene, just for him to get downstairs is like the biggest pain in the ass.
Yeah. It's and this so this leads to a scene where Michael Fassbender, Diane Kruger, and Hugo Stiglitz goes down there too. I think it might just be them. I can't remember if there's another bastard in there, but yeah, it's a very drawn out scene in this tavern.
Yep. And August Deal plays the major, the confrontational major. Is that
yep.
him?
Yep. Sturmbahn für Dieter Hellstrom.
You know, he kind of reminds me of that, because I've always thought it was him. The Bond villain in Casino Royale.
Oh yeah, Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah. I mean, I guess I wish it was him in a way, but like I've always thought it was him.
Yeah.
But either way, this guy's really great. Also, I think this scene in general. I don't know if I have a favorite scene, but I don't know if I was forced to pick a favorite scene, I might pick this one. It's hard to not pick one with Christoph Waltz in it, but I think this scene's really good. Like, I think Michael Fassbender's really great in it.
Yeah, it's so drawn out, and like the earlier scenes too. It's basically a game of outwitting each other in a way.
Yeah,
Michael Fassbender
exactly.
is trying to pull off this, being this Nazi, with his English accent, and it's kind of almost a joyous, like more relaxing scene up until the point when the one Nazi officer says, like, he mentioned something about how weird Michael Fassbender's accent is.
Yep.
And,
it's like you can see that, like, when the drunk guy appears, because he's raving too much about the actress / spy, like are there, like, even like the whole group knows, like, this guy's just gonna, we got to be as low key as possible right now. We got to do everything we can not to give this situation away. And this guy just kind of like brings it all out, because he gets Michael Fassbender to just yell at him, because he's like freaking out. He's like, we got to get this fucking guy out of here. And then all of a sudden his accent's revealed, and it begins the whole card game that comes out. And I think it's all the tension in this scene is just super well, like, it's not anything different than, like, really than other scenes in this movie, other than that, like, it's in a bar and that it's another exercise in tension. And I just think it's just super well done, and there's more great dialogue as well. Like, just the fact that they even like play a game with, like, a drunk game with this guy, and they're like, the whole way they're staring each other down, and then there's the big scene where Fassbender goes like, 3 glasses, and like the German officer's face, like, you could tell, he notices it right away. He's like, okay, I got him. He was looking for like a sign the whole time.
And it's another subtle thing. It's just the hand gesture.
Yep, exactly. Which is like what's in all these scenes. Yep.
Yeah, and that's when you slowly see, actually things sort of quickly start to build up even more, and you even see behind the bar, the bartender's reaching for the gun, and then, it builds up to this point where, all right, now everyone knows the deal. Everyone knows who is who, and and they've all got a gun pointed to each other, but subtly,
and Fassbender's like, I've had a gun pointed at your balls this whole time. And then his his partner just like pulls his gun out, and
Stiglitz.
Then Stiglitz, And so then Fassbender's like, he starts smoking a cigarette. It is a very, like, I don't know, it's like something that would happen in like Pulp Fiction or something. He's like, I gotta have a drink before the shootout, and does it all cool, and then massacre. Then a massacre just occurs in the bar. Yeah.
It's almost so much to take in in such a short amount of time too, because once everything settles down, uh, and it seems like there's just the one guy standing, it's like, okay, is everyone really dead after all of that? Like it's so chaotic and
Yeah.
um and just also wild that it's such a Tarantino movie that yeah, everyone dies. Like Michael Fassbender, huge big deal actor. Seems like he's going to be a major part of
Yep.
this movie. No, he's fucking dead. Yeah,
It's his one scene. Yep.
yeah. And yeah, and then it leads to the one really drunk Nazi soldier. He's still up, and then Diane Kruger is still she's injured, but she's around, and then it becomes the great altercation between him and Brad Pitt, who's shouting
Yep.
down the stairwell.
Yeah. He's trying to make another deal. Is trying to be made, and he's just like, how could I ever trust you in this like mess, of a war we're in where everyone's just killing each other and hates each other and all that shit. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
what choice do you got? And he's like, screw it. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like the bastards would have killed this guy anyways. But he doesn't they don't get a chance because Diane Kruger kills him.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder why. I forget why. If there is an obvious reason why.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. Because
Actually,
I
I mean, I
know.
think she's just actually just trying. I mean, she's just trying to end the standoff, really.
Yeah, I can
But
see
I
her
wonder
doing
if,
it out of fear of what he's trying to do, or even to show um to show Brad Pitt that she's like on
yep,
their side
exactly.
too.
Yeah, I guess I just wonder if it has anything to do with um, the fact that she was obsessed with her fame, or if it was just like,
Mm,
or if that was just like an interesting way of their their night to go out. If there was any significance in that area.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, they're out of the bar, and they don't totally they don't totally trust her yet. Brad Pitt's literally
Mm-hmm.
sticking his finger in her bullet wound and
Yeah.
like twisting it around and asking her questions.
Because they think it's a setup, which yeah, it's totally plausible because yeah, they the bastards lost one of their guys too, and
Yep.
um so yeah, then Diane Kruger has to do some convincing that she's on their side. She's still willing to help them, and
Yep.
yeah,
And she describes her whole like plan of what those I believe Michael Fassbender was going to be one of those guys that were going to attend the movie premiere with
yeah,
her. Um, then they were going to set off bombs in the theater, and so um, Brad Pitt, Eli Roth, and I believe one other guy um,
yeah,
decide to take their place. And she asks, do you speak any other language? Because they're fucking Americans.
yeah.
No, we don't speak any other language. And he's like, I speak Italian a little bit. And then he's like, I'll be your first guy because I speak the most Italian. And then he's like, Eli Roth. He's like, he speaks the second most, so he can be like the whatever, like I don't know, the camera guy, and then he speaks the third most, so he can be his assistant. It's just like a hilarious way like this crew gets formed, and just obviously a thing that's headed for disaster.
Mm. Yeah, and another little touch of showing off how American Brad Pitt is and his crew, not knowing any other languages. Well, this whole entire
Yeah.
movie, there's like we have a British guy speaking German, and then we have French people speaking German, German people speaking French. Yeah, and then the Americans are, yeah, they fake knowing Italian. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I think the very next scene is The movie,
the premiere,
the event, the premiere, yeah. And I think we cut to Shoshana like getting everything ready, and she's got all this red dress on, and she's going over the plan of all the the reels, and how how reel 4 has like their film on it, and that's when you set the bomb off, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Brad Pitt, Eli Roth, and Brad Pitt and Diane Kruger. They enter the premiere, and they're all wearing like white suits, and just kind of looking goofy as hell. And Christoph Waltz, like, he picks them out like almost immediately. It's
totally.
It's just like it's not even funny. Like, I don't think he interacts with anyone. We don't see him interact with anyone. Then he just immediately comes up to them. He's like, "How did you hurt your leg?"
Yeah, she's like, mountain.
And he's like, "Who the fuck are these guys? Like, what is this? Like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah."
He's like the best detective in the world. Yeah, he's
he's unreal.
He's way too smart for all these people. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And when like you were saying, when she says mountain climbing, he laughs like unreasonable, like too much, to like where he's like, it's obvious. And I love just how uncomfortable and also like weirded out the whole crew looks at like them, because on one level, like, Diane Kruger kind of looks like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? And like, she kind of looks more like she's like scared, actually, more like kind of like Shoshana in her scenes. And then Brad Pitt looks a little tense, but he also kind of looks like, what the fuck, what's wrong with this guy?
He's a goofy guy.
Yeah, exactly. And then he comes back, he finishes talking to them, and he asks them all to like recite their Italian. And it's just so poor that he gets a kick out of it, that he asks them to like recite it even more. And going back to it just being like something that I really believe, I believe more than anything in my life, that this is a movie about language, and it's just so much about language, not only like Tarantino's use of language, but just language as a use of tension and just connection among human beings. It's just dripping throughout this movie. So yeah, I like that about this a lot. And does so. What do they say? Brad Pitt says,
he's like,
"Buongiorno,
yeah.
Buongiorno," and Eli Roth says, "Margarite."
Margarite.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz goes like, "Sing it so we can hear it."
Yeah,
it's like, "Margarite."
I think he goes like, "Sing it" or something. Yeah, he's like,
"Margarite."
Exactly.
Yeah. And so,
and then the next guy, he just like makes everyone repeat their names. And the next guy does like a decent job. He's like, "De Coco."
Coco. His is easily the least bad, for sure.
Yeah. And then Brad Pitt's not even trying to
yeah, and there's like points, I swear, where Brad Pitt's just like, yeah.
That is one of my favorite moments in the movie, is just him just fucking with them.
Yeah.
It's and when he does that laugh too, that is like, Christoph Waltz is like on another level, where he asks Diane Kruger what she's doing. She's like mountain climbing, and he turns around, and it's just completely silent. You don't even see his face, and then he lets out that laugh. Yeah,
and he's immediately like, "Yesterday," and she's like, "When?" It looks fairly new, and she's like, "Yesterday," and she's
in Paris?
Like, and she's like, "Where?" In France, in Paris, yeah. And she's like, "Oh fuck."
In the north or something. Yeah.
Yeah. He also has a couple other moments where he's really intentionally goofy that I think are funny. I don't know if I can remember them exactly. Like, like in scene 1, he's when he's at the milk farmhouse, he kind of goes like, they're, they're not just German, but also German soldiers, and he gets like a kick out of that, and laughs a lot to himself. I think he may have a similar goofy thing in his scene with Shoshana.
Well, he has another moment shortly after this too. So where I can't remember what comes first. Then he ends up killing Diane Kruger because he like
Yep,
finds out.
yep.
Well, he doesn't find
Yeah,
out. He
he
knows.
puts the shoe on her foot.
Yep.
And then we get a little Tarantino foot fetish scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And then after that, he then captures. He takes in Brad Pitt and B.J. Novak,
yeah,
which I
and
can't remember how. Yeah.
the other guys, he just leaves in the theater
Yeah. Okay.
for some reason.
And
I don't
then
know. They don't ever pursue them.
yeah,
Like he
right.
lets them be for some
And
reason. So
I guess
he's very calculated.
I think that's where you get the next scene then, where he's pretty much like selling his plan to Brad Pitt and BJ Novak.
Yep.
That's where you show like how you said he's very like selfish and he does this
Yep.
for
He's
him really.
very much his own guy. Yeah.
He's
Even
not
though he
like
isn't.
for like Mother Germany. Yeah, he's not.
No, I don't. He probably sees a lot of flaws in like Hitler as a leader. So he probably
Yeah.
doesn't have any. He's probably not on it. He's not on any side.
Yeah.
You know.
He's very much like an evil genius. He's too smart for Hitler even. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so then he explains his plan to Brad Pitt and BJ Novak that he'll let them go and
Yep. He like pours wine. He's like, if you want to win the war tonight, we can.
yeah.
And he does just like the whole. It's a once again it's a long explanation process he gives,
Yeah.
but it's also just very concisely told on just like the situation at hand. And it's definitely interesting to just see Brad Pitt and BJ Novak take it in. They're especially like this is what I'm talking about on Ryan's eyes, like his eye, well, his acting, not his eyes. I was about to get to his eyes, specifically acting, and just the use of his the way he stares with his eyes, and just like the way he looks at Christoph Waltz with his face is just it's very comedic and just very confused and just yeah, I just like it. I think he does a good job in this movie. So yeah, he basically like he explains all that they about making the deal, and then he points them to the radio guy, like we can get someone on the radio right now and get this whole thing running, and then we jump back to the theater after that.
Yeah, and that's when Christoph Waltz does he thinks he has him, and he's like, "That's a bingo."
Oh yeah. It's like the bingo, and he's like, "We just say bingo."
Yeah, we just say bingo.
He's like bingo. He's like, "That's fun."
yeah. So then he's kind of making fun of the Americans a bit more. Yeah, and then we cut to the theater, and and it's like Shoshana and I keep calling him like her love interest, but Shoshana and her boyfriend, they're like prepping everything. They recorded something, her talking about how she's gonna kill all you Nazis. And they put that into the film reel, and then they lock up the theater. He runs backstage to get ready to light the film on fire. As it starts going, of course, Zoller, Daniel Bruhl, comes back trying to
in the middle of his film, he's like, I can't watch myself. You know?
He's like Adam Driver, who like famously says he can never watch anything that he's in. Same thing with Zoller here. So he tries to entice Shoshana, and she's again like, no, I don't like you, get away from me. And then it takes a huge turn where Shoshana ends up attempting to kill Zoller, and then he ends up not dying, although it looks like he's
Yep.
gonna die, and he has just enough time to kill her.
Yep.
Which is pretty tragic. I remember that the first time I saw it, I was actually like kind of like upset that happened, that she was killed in it, because it seemed like she, like in the beginning, she's the one that escapes, that she would again be sort of this hero, but it's Tarantino. So
there's violence. I think though, since they cut right immediately to like her video coming on, it's almost right after that. It's almost like her death is pretty triumphant.
Yeah.
Because that's right after that, she kills like Hitler. So it's like,
and she does end up getting, she comes out on top, although she dies. She's still, in this world, ends the war, really. So, and thus begins her boyfriend flicking the cigarette onto the film, and all hell breaking loose. Yeah,
it's a carnage scene, very similar. I'm just kind of realizing this now, not necessarily in the way it's shot, but more so in how it's contained. It's a carnage scene very much like Carrie, how they're all just trapped. They're very much just all trapped in this room, and it's just like mayhem.
Yeah, and then the two bastards who were left behind come back in, and they start shooting everybody up, and it's just absolute chaos.
Yeah, Eli Roth shoots Hitler like a shit ton, like to the point where his face gets like, it demolishes his face completely.
Yeah, and Tarantino really, like, it's like very, very comedic how just ridiculous these Nazis are then just like murdered. And Tarantino does like the same thing in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he has that flashback scene where Leonardo DiCaprio is in a World War II movie, and he's just using a flamethrower, just torching all these Nazis. And then where Tarantino really likes to play up the violence when it's terrible people throughout history, because then it's the Manson family people where they're just getting the living shit beat out of them. So it's same thing
for
here.
Sure.
Just Nazis burning alive and getting shot a billion times by the Inglourious Basterds. Yeah.
And so then it's intercut with Christoph Waltz, Hans, on the radio, basically stating his terms for what he's just done for, as he says, humanity and all the lives he's just saved and all this stuff. Like he's the way he words it is just hilarious. And he asks for like his own home in America, and like he wants it to be like, I forget what he says exactly, but he wants it to be like super nice and shit. And I think this is where we can ultimately, definitely on this watch, I was able to predict, all right, like he's getting too ahead of himself. He's getting too smart. I can like see his demise coming. Like I know, like, I know the bastards are not gonna they're not gonna have this,
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then which I think is perfect ending to like bring everything together. Too, is when they lead him out to the middle of nowhere, and Christoph Waltz, he's gotten so ahead of himself, thinks
he's like, all right, I surrender, and he literally, you could see it on his face, he doesn't think anything's gonna happen. He thinks like everything's all good, but then they put handcuffs on him, they kill his I don't know, one of his men, basically, that he wanted to save.
Yeah, he was like the driver.
Yeah. Someone who he cared about, probably. And this is the first time where you could see he feels that he's not in control of the situation, and like where he actually looks surprised by something that happens. And it's because I guess the bastards are just supposed to be that the unpredictability, the most unpredictable nature, and yeah.
That's where it turns in from. Yeah, like Christoph Waltz thinks he's won with his like, his wit and intelligence, and then he gets totally played by just the unpredictability of
and
Brad Pitt and his crew. Yeah,
and like I said, like it's like the dumb American like luck, the luckiness, because like in ways like Brad Pitt and BJ Novak were fucked, but like the fact that they're now in this situation is just hilarious. Like that they won the war after getting captured, and then they just don't let this guy get any of it as well. Like they end it by putting the swastika on his forehead, and we see it very viscerally.
Yeah.
Right on the forehead, and like clearly they're just not gonna let Hans have any moral victory at all, and like clearly he like if he moves to America, things are not gonna work out.
Yeah.
With that thing on his forehead, unless he wears a headband all the time or something like that.
Yeah, and I think it's the perfect ending. Not killing him and instead giving him this scar that he has to live with. It's almost like he thought there's no way these dumb Americans are going to be able to, they're going to do whatever I say. They're so easy to manipulate and everything. But then he underestimated the American luck. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
He gave it to him.
Yeah. So we did it. We got through it all.
We did it. There's a good recap. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So overall, I like totally get why you think this is why you think why this is your second favorite Tarantino movie. I don't know if it's my second favorite, because I know Once Upon a Time is my favorite as well, but because I like Jackie Brown a lot as well, and but Inglourious Basterds is definitely up there for me, like where when I watch it, I am like utterly appreciating like just him as a filmmaker and writer especially. And I don't feel like, it's not like Hateful Eight where I feel like it's too long or sometimes becomes too Tarantino-y or something like that. I feel it's very smart, very calculated, and just has fantastic dialogue and writing. So yeah, overall I like Inglourious Basterds a lot, even though I think it can get a little maybe repetitive at times, in just the fact that it is constant stare downs and interrogation scenes, but they're all really great. So I don't know. What can I say?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is really. It seems a lot smarter than some of Tarantino's other movies. I do think he's a really smart guy, smart writer, and everything. But I don't dislike any of Tarantino's movies, but I'm not the biggest fan of his just because of certain things that are even repetitive in this movie. And like I said before, just the elongated dialogue that is very drawn out. But Inglourious Basterds, it works for me pretty well. I think, like you said, the repetition is the only thing that comes to mind when I think back on everything we talked about. Is a lot of these scenes are very similar in how they're set up, but before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's definitely my favorite. It's Tarantino, and it's the one that I've revisited the most. So yeah,
I also think it's probably one of his more just most, like, for like real film people, like his most highly regarded or like analyzed or prestige wise. Like I feel like this film is analyzed a lot just on a filmmaking concept for like film analysis YouTube videos, that sort of thing. Like I just see it I just see it pop up a lot. Like specifically, like I've seen a lot of analysis of the Michael Fassbender scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and on just like filmmaking craft and like building tension and that sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't think we're alone in being guys who are super impressed by this movie. I think a lot of people are, and I think it's definitely one of Tarantino's most well regarded on just like a filmmaking level rather than like a pop culture level necessarily, or a popularity level.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and I'm glad you picked it for our revisit series, because
yeah,
it was much needed rewatch. Glad I got around to
it was good.
it. All right. Yeah. Well, that concludes our Inglourious Basterds episode. But
yeah,
stay tuned for more of these in the future on some of our favorites. Intertwined with some other regularly scheduled programming too. And
yeah, exactly.
have a good Thanksgiving and wear a mask.